So Brandon French is our first king of the capitalism jungle that we've captured in his native habitat for a second, and we want to investigate his entrepreneurial spirit. And how did you know when you were ready to go from your apartment to having a store? Was it just sort of like, I can't do this, I physically can't do this out of my apartment
necessity
anymore?
Yeah, it was necessity. I had to have more room. I had to have a space to do something, and either I could save a little money and be in a warehouse type situation somewhere in a off the beaten path, or we could pay a little bit more and put a sign on the front and make a business out of it.
Now, your sales job
Was gone at this point.
Okay, so let's get back to that. So
right.
what?
About the time whenever I was filling up my apartment and needed more space, that's about the time I got the same idea of, I'm done with this other thing because it's not making me any money, and I'm making a little money here. I'm miserable here, but I'm happier here. I'm actually fulfilling whatever. My entrepreneurial desire was getting fulfilled that way. And so, going back to what you referenced earlier, no wife, no kids, no mortgage. It was still low risk for me at the time, and so I quit the job and just started trying to support myself in whatever other means I could do.
Mm-hmm.
Quit my real job, like you said earlier.
Okay, so it was kind of at that same point where there was some pent up with your new business, with the business you had created. You were sort of at I've got to make a break for this and get a space, and it's at a point, you're kind of at a
now or nothing
threshold there where it gave you enough confidence to make the leap, so to speak, from having a day job and just focusing on your own business.
It would be silly to say that I wasn't scared, because it was nerve-wracking, and it was a risk, and a risk that most of my fellow graduates weren't taking. Nobody else was quitting their jobs to go start something,
And were you doing that all on your own? You sold?
Sure. Yeah, it was
you
just
came up with the name and the logo for it?
I think my little brother made the logo for me.
Your little brother?
Yeah, and it was just like, it was kind of like a little fun project at first for us, and then it kind of turned into something that was real.
So was he involved in the business with you?
No. He was still going to school. He was my roommate at the time, and I said, hey, you're crafty on the computer, can you make me a logo? And he spent about 10 minutes on it and then had it ready to go.
So you and your brother were in an apartment together, and you had your apartment was full of inventory.
Inventory, yeah. Lots of boxes of shoes, lots of boxes of.
Did you say pallets of toothpaste or something like that?
We had pallets of tanning lotion at the time. Yeah, so there was a lot of.
And were people buying entire pallets of tanning lotion?
Of course. We shipped, I think I shipped 2 pallets to one customer in Iceland of tanning lotion, as a matter of fact.
Iceland, all right.
Where they get a lot of sun.
Did you get a trip out of that?
No, I just shipped them to him.
Okay. So all that kind of happened at once. You kind of hit a threshold where you said, I need more space. I feel like I can make the leap and let go of my day job. And how old were you at that point?
24.
24, okay.
23, 24. And again, I went from being low risk and relatively poor recent college grad to a low risk, even more poor college grad. It wasn't making much money.
So what were people in your life saying to you? I mean, how were you feeling, and what were your parents and your little brother and the telecommunications people?
What you could expect. I mean, it was like, oh, you're doing what? Oh, okay. Didn't you graduate? Okay. All right. It was a jeer and a sneer, and they didn't really take it serious, and that was okay, because I just knew that you had to take a risk. And again, I mentioned earlier that pride was a deal. My pride had already been shot, and I was humbled at my other job anyway. So it was just a point where I was just ready to take the risk.
Some of the feedback you were getting, but you felt motivated. You were humbled. But you were excited too at that point.
Sure. I mean, I knew that what I was doing wasn't working, and at this point, before we referenced the fact that as I was leaving one job, I had another one kind of waiting. As I graduated, I had a job waiting. When I left that job, I had another one waiting. This one was a free fall. It was I had nothing to catch me at this point, and I knew that if I didn't give it 100% and go all into it,
Right.
number one, it wouldn't work, and number two, I'd never know if it would have worked or not. If I just kind of halfway gave it an effort, I never knew. I could spend the rest of my life with this pent-up fear
Right.
of not knowing if it would work or not.
All right. And at the beginning, you mentioned that you are from an entrepreneurial family and whatnot. So was that perspective on absorbing that risk and pushing through those fears, was that, you think that was sort of in your mind as well, that perspective, having come
Sure.
from that
Well,
environment?
The way your family views you is important. Even though I had classmates and former coworkers that were maybe a little bit critical of what my decision, my family understood that people do this all the time where they're
That's
from.
the way it is.
And that's the way they do it. And like, oh yeah, you're starting a business, great, that's a good idea. Let me know if you need any guidance. Let me know if you need any help.
Okay.
And
So
that
you
kind of
had
deal.
some people that were
in my
important to you,
corner.
that you
Right.
trusted to have that perspective, that were giving you a different perspective than your
Right.
than your peers.
And my peers, right? And
Yeah.
you all know how peer pressure works, for at that stage in your life. But it was definitely a good thing to have at least a couple people in your corner that would give you the
Okay. So how long? That was 2008-ish. How long? What's the course now that we're on?
And then, like I said, the business I have now started about mid-2009, and there was some overlap too. So we started that 2008-ish, somewhere in there, and it was going great until we hit a couple speed bumps in the online sales environment and processing payments. We used mainly PayPal to process payments. PayPal started getting a little bit technical in what they could do and couldn't do, and if a shipment was lost at sea, I had to pay for it. I shipped I think I shipped about $700 of product to the Middle East one time, and it got there, but no one ever claimed it, and so I just lost it. And it was stuff like this that started proving, okay, well, this isn't working like we thought.
Okay.
And at that point, with eSell, I was selling stuff online. We were open to the public for people to bring in stuff that we could help them sell and that kind of deal.
Yeah.
And then I started advertising because I realized that it was a good item and a good product category that we would help people sell electronics. People always want to upgrade their phones or stereos or trade, and so we will help you sell your electronics. We'll buy them from you and sell and make a profit. And I realized this is a pretty good turnover and a good profit margin too.